Hey everyone, welcome to Amanda's Book Corner. I'm Amanda, and this is my review of Business Not As Usual by Sharon C. Cooper. Also, I want to give a special thanks to the people at Penguin Random House who reached out to me, as well as to NetGalley, for providing me with an ARC in exchange for an honest review. Thank you very much. Business Not As Usual is a contemporary romance, and as you can probably guess from the title, it's kind of an office-based romance between a woman and a man who come from completely different socioeconomic backgrounds. Dreamy Daniels is 28 years old, and she's working as a secretary or assistant to the CEO of a company, and meanwhile, she's also taking night classes to finish her bachelor's degree. She's a very bold and fun character, and I really love her personality. She's the kind of person who dresses in bright colors with vibrant patterns, and she's just full of life and creativity and optimism. She's always looking on the bright side of things, even when life throws a lot of bad things at her. And she's just so ambitious, but so fun and so kind and so upbeat almost all of the time. She was a really delightful character, and I really enjoyed getting to know her and getting to see how her life kind of unfolded throughout this story. On the other hand, we have Karter Redford, who is about 10 years older than she is. He is a multimillionaire or billionaire, I'm not exactly sure, and he is a son of a famous actor and a socialite. And although he has a lot of money from his two parents, he also has a very successful venture capitalist firm, and he is kind of a workaholic. He maybe has high-functioning depression, and he's grieving his friend who at 40 just had a heart attack and died from that. And he's looking at his own workaholism and how he pushes himself so hard, and he's starting to worry about his own health. He's also starting to think about whether he wants to finally have a family, get married, have kids. And he's kind of burned out on all the people that he's been dating who are also very wealthy, they're famous, they care more about their status and his money than anything else, and he's really looking for someone a little bit more down to earth and someone who can bring something different into his life. At the beginning of the book, both Dreamy and Karter are surprised when they meet each other. He's considering investing in her company, and they definitely have an instant attraction, but it's not exactly professional or ethical for them to get into a relationship while they're working together on this possible investment in her company, the company where she works. And on top of that, they come from such completely different backgrounds, and they have a 10-year age gap, so a relationship between them could be an uphill battle in a lot of ways. Even so, after a little while, they do start to develop a little romance, and I really love seeing how that unfolded. One of the things that I really liked about this book is how it talks about their differences in finances and class. And you can see, especially on Dreamy's side, how she feels very insecure about being in a relationship with a man who is so wealthy compared to her, who grew up very poor, is still very poor, and she doesn't have the money to fix the issues in her house. She doesn't have the money to fix her car, let alone buy a new one. And she really doesn't feel prepared to be interacting with the people in his life who are very wealthy and famous and would possibly look down on her. She also has a thing about being independent, and she doesn't want to have to depend on Karter for things that he can pay for. For example, he often offers to help pay to fix her car, or to fix the things in her house, or to buy her new clothing. And she just feels very uncomfortable about that because on the one hand, she doesn't want to take advantage of him or feel like a leech or make him feel like she's the one who's always taking but never giving. But on the other hand, she really does want to be independent and self-reliant, and it's really hard for her in her current financial situation that she's in. That's definitely something that I could relate to because I also grew up poor, and I still have a lot of certain insecurities or things about money that just make me feel uncomfortable. Even so, Dreamy is very ambitious, and I also love seeing how hard she works at her job, at her classes, and at her goal of starting her own business. She has two very different but very clear business ideas that she wants to implement and put into place. She's really hoping that she can start them. Now, the way she plans to fund them kind of calls into question a kind of quirkier thing about this book. Dreamy is completely convinced that she will win the lottery at some point very soon. She's been playing the lottery every single week for many years at this point, probably since she turned 18, and she has a mantra saying how she is a lottery winner. And it's kind of interesting seeing how other people in her life are very realistic about this and be like, Dreamy, you're probably not going to win the lottery. I mean, there's like a 1 in however many millions chance that you're actually going to win. Why are you putting it into your business plan that you're going to fund it by the lottery winnings that you have not won yet and may never win? So I thought that was really interesting how she was so sure that she was going to win. Later on, there's further discussion surrounding lottery and winnings and the kinds of results that can lead to. I thought that was interesting, although personally, I think that certain things that happened in the book weren't necessary because I think other things could have worked in fulfilling that. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to give spoilers, but I thought it was kind of silly. And I say this as someone who, I don't really play the lottery pretty much ever, but I do have family members who have played the lottery religiously because, as I said, we were poor growing up, and sometimes it just helps to pin your hopes on something even though it might not be realistic in any way. Either way, I did think it was an interesting thing that was included in this book. Kind of added a kind of light and maybe unrealistic thing to it, but it's the kind of book where you have to suspend disbelief a little bit to enjoy it fully. Further going into these differences in their backgrounds, Dreamy also has a lot of insecurities, and although she's very self-assured in general, she does have her insecurities. Part of that comes from her ex-boyfriend who told her that she was not classy, she was not sophisticated, she was not well-educated, and she does have a lot of reservations about herself, and she feels like she's not worthy of certain people, Karter included, being how he is a very successful and very wealthy and somewhat famous person. Dreamy had kind of sworn off dating, and getting into a relationship with Karter will prove difficult for her because she does have these insecurities, and being with someone who she sees as being so completely out of her league really puts a lot of pressure on her and really forces her to examine these insecurities that she has. For all of the ways that Dreamy feels inadequate, I really appreciate that Karter never makes her feel that way. He really does think she's perfect just as she is. He never makes Dreamy feel less than just because she's poor or from a lower social standing, or because she's less educated, or because she's not as far along in her career, because as I mentioned, she is 10 years younger than he is. I really like that he appreciates her for exactly who she is and where she's at in her life, and he really believes in her and respects her, and he does want the best for her. He doesn't want to be the person to change her life all on his own, but he does want to be there by her side as she does start to accomplish things in her own life, and I really value that and the way he treats her. Another thing that I really appreciate in this book is the different kinds of family dynamics that it explores, and the way it shows that some family members can be very toxic and can be very problematic and cause a lot of issues for their children. In this case, I'm referring to Dreamy's mother and Karter's mother in particular. Dreamy's mother abandoned her when she was young, and so she was raised by her grandparents, and she has not had a close relationship with her mother. They live on opposite ends of the United States now, and Dreamy is just not in a place where she's ready to form a new relationship with her mother. She really feels like her mother abandoned her and cared more about this other guy that she went after instead of caring for her own daughter. And so I can see that that's a really tough issue that she's facing. On Karter's side, his mother is very into being wealthy and famous, and she looks down on people who are poorer than they are. She does not approve of Dreamy at all, and she says some really horrible things to Dreamy, things that really bring out these insecurities that Dreamy has that I mentioned before. And I appreciate that Karter does always stand up for her, but it definitely is another strain on their relationship. I like how this book shows different kinds of family relationships and who you can be close to, and it also shows how some relationships can be very difficult. What I really appreciate is that it shows that while some relationships are worth saving and it's worth putting in the effort into it to reclaim it and make it better again, some relationships are not worth saving or may take more time to really heal. Not every relationship is the kind of thing where you can have just one conversation and boom, everything is solved. I like how this has a really realistic view on relationships and how they're complicated and how they might take months, years, even decades to really heal. Another thing I liked is how it talks about work and workaholism. Karter in particular is a workaholic, and he does push himself way too hard. We see at the beginning how his friend was also a workaholic and had a heart attack and died at the young age of 40. And Karter is getting close to that age and he's worried about his own health, and yet he keeps pushing himself and working 16-hour days, which is completely unhealthy. And I really like how Dreamy and other people in his life are trying to get him to slow down, and the kind of events that it leads up to towards the end of the book when he finally does decide that he does need to tone it down on the working. I think America is a very workaholic society, and I think a lot of us are workaholics, and I think it's important to have these conversations, including in fiction like this, that really show how it's important to work hard, but it's important to also know when to slow down and really take care of yourself and your own health. Related to work, it all starts when Karter goes to invest in the business where Dreamy is working, and I just want to say her boss is horrible. He is a micromanager and he's disrespectful and not thankful to any of his employees. He sees all of his employees as replaceable. He's a horrible, toxic boss. And I really like the arc surrounding that and Dreamy's role within the company. I think it had a rather satisfying arc to it. I don't want to say too much though, because again, spoilers. One final thing I will say is I thought the book was a little bit inconsistent with pacing. I did find that some chapters, multiple chapters, would talk about a single day, and then there'd suddenly be a gap of days or even weeks between chapters. And so it's kind of interesting seeing this kind of inconsistent ebb and flow. I thought the pacing could have been a little bit more consistent, but it didn't really detract from the story. I still really enjoyed it, and overall I just thought it was a really delightful story. I think Dreamy and Karter were a cute couple, and I like how they showed that people who are very different can also be very similar in certain ways and be very good for each other. So all in all, I gave Business Not As Usual 4.5 stars. So I hope you enjoyed this book review video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And to make sure you don't miss any more of my videos, please ring the bell to get all my notifications. I put out about 2 to 3 book review videos like this one every week, as well as 1 to 2 other videos like listicles and vlogs. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!